Be rad or be sad.
Must back up record just in case I say something that I want to keep forever. Alright. Well, I learned this the hard way. Do backup recordings of some fashion because things happen with electronics and you miss like an hour of a really good interview with some special people. So that's happened to me twice now. Not today. Welcome, you guys, to the first episode of Be Rad at Something. I have the YouTube channel you may or may not know about. And that was the first thing I started. And this last summer, let's go back a little bit. This last winter, February, I lost my job. I got fired for being in the wrong 4 different ways. And I had from then until November 10th to start up a podcast for our gym, CrossFit Reincarnation. And it's this podcast thing that I really like. So I listen to a lot of them. I learn a lot from them. And man, I want to do it too. So here I am. And there I am too. It's a daily reincarnation podcast. You can find it in all the popular places. That's where I've been all summer. And I've also been on the CrossFit Reincarnation YouTube channel. Go check those places out. That's where all my work has been since I've been off work. But now we were running out of money, so I had to start a new job, and somehow that's given me this paradigm shift to move to my own channel again. So welcome to Be Rad at Something. Anyway, the whole idea behind Be Rad at Something started about a year ago, and I was kind of miserable at my job. And I was thinking, man, what else can I do? And I wanted to make videos, and it's not something that I just came up with exactly. I've been at this electronic audio and video stuff for, man, you could say my whole life, really. I was just thinking about how my dad gave me this little simple tape recorder, just this little small D-cell battery operated cassette recorder. And he just gave me a quick rundown on how to record with it. He says, you just roll this volume all the way up, push record. And that was my introduction into that world. And I always listened to music in the car with my mom everywhere we went. Love music too. I've had my hand at making some of my own stuff. So all the intro music you hear for any of my podcasts or whatever, maybe not in the editing to cover up sound, those tracks I use for that, but definitely the intro for CrossFit Reincarnation, that's my own creation. And I have an idea what one I'm going to use for this one, but I haven't settled yet. But I have about 10 tracks to choose from. So most likely the song you already heard for the intro, well, I guarantee it's one that I made. Like I said, I just don't know which one it's going to be exactly as I sit here recording this. But anyway, this has been around my whole life. And I can even remember, was just sitting down remembering when I would destroy one recorder because I took them apart and made different things out of them or whatever I did with them, ruined them. I would get another one. Like the recorder just kept showing up in my life, and it was all cassette based. And I can remember, like, I'd have friends stay the night when I was preteen. And even my cousin, I can remember once, but I would just bring these recorders and push record. and we just talk about whatever. And it's kind of amazing to get to this point today and think back about those things. And here I am. I've been I've been doing this in some capacity my whole life. And so now, a little bit older, I feel like I have some kind of a message to share. And it's been what I've been living. So yeah, this be right at something. Back to that. What is that? Well, I was miserable at the job and I eventually lost it because of that. Because I let my attitude get the best of me. But when I started those videos, I was thinking, what else can I do then? I hate this, what I'm doing. It makes great money. Like I should be happy. We have everything we wanted. But I was not happy. So what is wrong? Well, it wasn't this stuff that I've loved all my life. So I started making videos. I made the first one of this era about me putting together this guitar with a Montana highway sign. You can check that out on my channel on B-Rad at something on YouTube. Actually, I made one before that. Sorry. I made one about converting this powder coat oven, making it a little bit better. But the making the video is actually the basis of what being rad at something is to me, this audio too. It makes the projects 10 times longer, but the video part is what I'm really interested in. But those projects started from just this idea in my head, I want to do that. I want to try that. I had this oven, found a place that it would fit in a powder coat little booth that I got from a friend. I was like, I think that would be cool if that was in there. And so I just made a video around making that happen. But that is the premise of be rad at something. Like it's that idea. I've always wanted to try blank, or I feel like I should be doing this. That is the something. And when I made that video, I think I made the video first and then titled the whole works after, but it's me trying to be rad at something since that's my name, be rad. Did you know that's my name? A lot of people have called me be rad kind of affectionately. Maybe in middle school it wasn't affectionate, but that's all right. It is now. I like it too. And it's just a reminder of me to not be a slacker. Like I take it literal. I want to be rad. Rad in the positive sense. So yeah. And I want to be an encouragement in doing so. And just get into some philosophy on how you figure out what you should be rad at. Maybe I've touched on that already in some of the audio or whatever I've recorded, but there are things or a thing that you've always done already. You were born with this inclination to do this thing, and it's presented itself to you in your life over and over again. And maybe you've shrugged it off and decided, no, time to grow up, not do that. But that's the thing, man. Everybody's programmed already by God with these things. I make no mistake that it's God. It's God's work. God is at the top of everything, the center. We'll just get that right out in the open here on episode 1. And I've had that reproven also in my whole entire life. So I'm not gonna beat around that bush. There is a universe, yes. Maybe you can think that you get some of these things from the universe. Well, that's true. Guess who's in charge of the universe? God. All right? And I cannot be convinced otherwise because I pray to God each day, help him to see me, ask him to help me see these things more clearly. And you know what? He does. I've tried superstition. I've tried other things. I've tried thinking of maybe it is the universe. And I've gotten places with those thoughts, sure, but they are not reliable and they're fickle. It's like this worked today, but this exact same thing didn't work tomorrow or yesterday. This exact same thing never worked again, maybe. Or sometimes this thing worked for years and now it doesn't work anymore. But this God idea has not failed me for 21 years. Okay. All I'm going to say to close that thought is keep your mind open, because that is the center, the top, the controller of the universe. And that's who helps me be rad. And I can't mention God without mentioning he does have a son, Christ. Let's get that out there too, right away. He's the reason that we can have what we have. I'm not going to make this all religious. I'm not perfect. But I'm going to tell you what works for me in every place in my life. And I'm going to do it without being ashamed, because it does work. It'll work for you too. I have no doubt. And if you've tried and maybe it didn't, I'd say maybe you gave up too soon. It wasn't an automatic thing for me to accept either. I wanted to be the universe. I wanted to be in control. But it was one of those things again that was fickle and allowed me to not obtain any of my dreams. So I adopt what works in my life. Sometimes I'm hard headed and I've adopted something that might not be the best. But luckily, because of my guidance spiritually, I've been able to drop some of those things that don't work or are unhealthy. Just along those lines, I've done drugs and fell off into alcohol, and those took me to places that seemed like they were okay. Even in this audio video world, it was there still too, but I can never quite get to anywhere great with those vices. And so by a miracle, I was able to let those go. Now today it's pretty much just, caffeine, carbohydrates, sugar. I still have some crutches, but no alcohol, no drugs, no nicotine. Well, no drugs other than caffeine and stuff, I make no mistake that it's a drug too. But it's not wrecked my life. It's helped me today to have a little bit more energy to say some things. If I could do without it, I would. Today, it's good. But that just reminds me of what's been going on this whole time I had off this summer to try to help the gym out and find out if that was my thing to be rad at. It turns out it was not. I kind of I needed the rest from work. I hadn't taken such a break from work in all my working life. I started working when I was 12 years old at a drive-in theater, running the projectors. Hey, that was a video project. I actually started before that washing the windows and stuff at the drive-in and changing the marquee sign, but the marquee sign was letters, artistic. That was a fit. That was the most perfect job I could have had. I could have that job today and be satisfied. But so anyway, I had this summer off and I kind of, I needed the rest and I took it, but I was kind of lazy. I didn't have anything that I had to do exactly. I wish that I could have been more disciplined to to do more with the gym, but I think it was more so an opportunity to see if that was for me or not. And I was allowed that time. I sold some things so I could keep the time off on purpose. Sold some side business assets. But yeah, I had that time off and might consider some of it a waste, I guess, because I wasn't disciplined enough. But I understand on this other side, it wasn't the fit. I just needed to see that, needed to rest. Now I got a job again because I had to. And that has forced me to be active. And in turn, that has caused me to have more energy. And that's why I guess I'm doing this today. I have spare energy because I'm doing something in, I suppose we should call it God's plan, that is correct. And I've been taught that when you're doing those things that are correct, you get energy and you can continue to do them. And when you're not, the same opposite will happen. You'll like run out of energy and not be able to do it. So that kind of happened to me at the gym. But these podcast things I did for the gym and the video stuff I did for the gym, that ingredient was there. I had energy to do those things. And I don't know if you've ever tried to edit a video or any audio stuff, but it's tedious. And you listen to the same thing. Oh my goodness. However many times it takes you to get it right in your mind. And sometimes you got to take a break because it's like saying the same word 700 times. It doesn't sound like the right word anymore. That's what happens in audio. So for anyone to be able to sit through something as nitpicky and tedious as that, it's got to be a fit. Because otherwise you'd be like, I ain't doing that. And anyway, I found that energy in those things. I had some money stashed away waiting for some cool thing to do with it. And it turned out podcast gear was the good thing to do with that money, to buy with that money. Sorry, I'm a little distracted because there's a phone ringing in the background. My apologies. I have such an audio and video mind that I can't unhear music or sounds anywhere. It screws up what I'm trying to say. But that's okay. Okay, so anyway, I bought all this podcast stuff. I did all the video. I bought some video stuff too. Audio and video stuff for the gym. Please go check out all that stuff. CrossFitReincarnation.com or Daily Reincarnation Podcast or CrossFit Reincarnation at YouTube. All that attention to those places helps me out. I'm the caretaker of those platforms at this time. And I've been happy to do so. It's a form of advertising. The gym is my wife and I's business. And it's our business because it's another one of those things that is part of this key of how to be rad at something. So I already talked about the spiritual thing. And then the exercise is another. So the exercise, it just stirs up all your mind to be in the right condition to do these things. And you don't have to go all out and be a CrossFit elite athlete, but you do need to go breathe hard, and you do need to lift a little bit of weight and squat and get everything moving and keep it moving. And you need to do it as much as possible. It's essential to achieving your goals. I promise that. It's the reason that I can. And like I told you, I'm not going to beat around any of these bushes of what works for how to be rad. They work. If you're not sure, just keep watching along and seeing what works for me. Those have been 2 out of the 3 parts of what make this engine run. And the other one is education. So, like I said, I like podcasts. I just watch them, and not only do I learn or get an education from who's on there and what they're talking about. For me, I see the whole structure of what a podcast can be. So I've educated myself there a bit. My other education has been I actually took a 9-month course in music production. That was my original thought of what I wanted to do was make music. And I did do that. But although that's been a decade ago, it serves me today to have something to put on these videos. And I didn't know I could do videos so much until I was inspired by one of my favorite artists, Trent Reznor, 9 Inch Nails, to make a video for a film festival. I didn't need any education to do that. I just sat at the computer and got to work. I didn't know I could, but yeah, I could. And the drive-in job was also video. I had to splice together reels of the actual motion picture, the actual film itself. So I guess there's been my video. There was audio set up in that too. Read announcements. You know, I got positive feedback in a lot of these places. There's another signal that is your something to be rad at. If you're ever in question of what to do, I've sat there too, like what do I do with my time? And I've went off into different places. It's like I want to try this and I want to try that. So you know what the most important thing you do then is? You take an action step. You send an email. You make a phone call. Maybe sometimes you buy something and get it in front of you and you see if it gives you the energy to take off with it. But be careful there, I'd say. You can buy all the things in the world you want and maybe they just end up on a shelf. I suppose that's all right. You got to find out somehow. But pay attention to those things that you use that you can't quit doing. And I hope when you find it, it is positive and helpful to the world around you. I'm sure you can go off in the wrong direction too. Maybe to become like an agent for the negative side. I hope that doesn't happen to you in this quest. And I can't sit here and believe that that was the intention. It's for you to fall into those things. But make no mistake, we're all at war with that good versus evil. God versus Satan is how I see it. I don't think you could put it in any simpler terms. So you're going to be fighting to even do this thing that comes so natural to you. You're going to have your mettle tested. But if it's the right thing, you will prevail. You'll have the energy to wipe off the mud and the blood and the sweat and continue. You'll find a way. You won't be able to be stopped. But you're going to need help. If you elect God's help, God's not going to let you down. I promise you. If it seems like you have elected his help and, you know, it went wrong and you feel like it went the opposite way that you thought, you might be having your mettle tested immediately so that you don't think that that's the right way to go. It'll be counterintuitive on that because there's a complete fight on that front. I find that fight too in exercise, education. I think there's a fight there too, maybe sometimes in the form of deception, like you need to go get a degree and you need to this and that. Maybe you do. You can get lost in the wrong direction doing that too. If you find a really great fit, like I think the education part will be an enhancement of what you're already capable of. I'd say err on that side. Everybody has talents. Everybody has their own mixture of talents. Nobody's is the same exactly. So I think if you pay attention and yeah, just pay attention to the things you're the best at. I've heard it said from Garrett Gunderson from the Wealth Factory. These things will be things that you get compliments on. So I got compliments on how I ran movies from my boss, how I did the marquee sign. I wasn't that great at washing windows, I don't think. I left streaks, but that was just some hard work I had to do to get to where I needed to be, which is also necessary. Got to make money sometimes. Don't forget the dream while you're there. Try harder to get out of there. Let's throw that out there. But yeah, I felt like I could handle what I was doing. I felt good about doing it. I could continue to do it. And the other thing, I guess, too, is important. Um, you might be so good at something that you don't think anything of it. You're like, yeah, that's just something I've always done. No big deal. Why is that special? Because that's the thing. I guess just go around and see just how many people have done that the way that you do. And there is going to be people that can do everything better than you. There's going to be people that can't do things as good as you. But your thing, you'll be plenty competent at it. I guess you might not always get the positive compliments and rewards. It reminds me of my gym videos and podcasts. It's like crickets out there for that audience. But I think I understand why. Because I have this other channel and now this other podcast and doing these things, making those videos, I've had kind of a warm reception amongst my friends. But the landscape of fitness is a little tougher. Like, I think it's something that everybody thinks or knows that they should do, but they don't really want to do it. So maybe they watch and they're like, yeah, I know, but they're not doing it. That's acceptable to me. Like, I may have taken offense to that a little bit, but I know it's such a benefit that I won't quit trying to contribute to that. Like I say, we bought a whole business to help support this. Maybe selfishly for ourselves, maybe me. Corey's not selfish. I have been. I might have started with the idea that I want a gym to have so I don't get shut out of one ever again. But I see it now after a few years like the benefit for other people. And so whether anybody tells me that, hey man, I like your gym videos, they help me or not, that's okay. Maybe they're not the best in that gym fitness career for myself. It's not exactly the right fit. I turned out not to want to be a trainer, a coach. I just need to do the exercise and I need a guaranteed place to do it. So I do have the gym. I also have my own stuff at home because there's times I'm not going to make it to the gym. But there's never times I don't need some exercise. So I have a bicycle. Fortunately, I have some discipline to do it often enough to kind of keep myself going. There's nothing like going to that gym though. There's no workout like that. There's no gym program like the one where you got to be accountable and people know when you're missing. And I remember when me and Corey started working out, we were dating and we did it together for a while and then she kind of quit going. I was more able than her, I think, to go by myself and do it on my own. I've done a lot of things in my life just by myself, just because that's how I grew up, I suppose. And I like that. But she needs a group. I think most people, more people than not, need kind of a group. I don't know. That number's probably, that number could be 50-50. Some people can do it by themselves, some people cannot. If you find you're one that can't do it by yourself, we have a beautiful gym program going on. You might like to check that out. I think I don't need to say where. You probably heard it. Might hear it again in this very podcast. But I don't care if you come to our gym or not. Find a program, a place, your own garage, whatever place you need. Some other place in some other town. We're out in Spring Creek. If you have another gym out there you'd like to go to, I don't have a problem with that. Our gym's not for everybody, but it's perfect for the ones who find it and love it. That's what that's all about. That's just along that idea that the pie is not finite. There is enough pie to go around for everybody. That's in Killing Sacred Cows with Garrett Gunderson, that idea. Another idea I've learned and found to be true. Think about abundance. There's enough for you to do your thing. Even if your whole neighborhood's doing it. If that's what you've been given to do, take those first steps. Get started in it. Be the way that you're going to be at it. Who cares if there's people better or worse? It doesn't matter. The thing that matters is that you take action and that you get started and then let it be born and take on a life of its own. And if you're in the right place, I am convinced you will get all the things you need from all the places you need it. It's happened for me. So very literally, this podcast idea is that for me. So that's great. Well, I just learned I didn't do one of my backups to start recording on this podcast console. So that's okay. Hopefully the phone is recording it. If not, this little recorder by my side is. And yeah, so I found this stuff to buy with this money I had set aside. And I realized watching all my videos and listening to my music and whatnot, like the sound quality is kind of subpar. So some of the education I got was to use the certain equipment that I have, and it helps. Because there's times when my voice and my energy level is a little low. I was not aware of this fact until I started doing this. And my voice probably can put people to sleep. But the thing about podcasting is I'm a great listener, and I can think about questions to ask when people talk. I always find myself in situations where I'm kind of one-on-one with people, whether it be at work or in the car. And I like to be the one most of the part of the conversation to be the one that listens. Just kind of stirs it up and keeps it moving. And I'm not the greatest at that, but I seem to be able to. And then this being able to capture it part, I found that it helps to have the best quality audio that I can come up with. So they say you don't need the best of the best to get started. You could start a little cheaper and just see how you feel. I guess I've been there. Like I said, I started with a crappy tape recorder, and I love listening back at the tape. And then later I got a double deck stereo system for Christmas or my birthday, whatever it was. And I learned how to do some editing on the tape. So I was able to cut pieces out and put pieces together. I used to record songs right off the radio. One day I discovered if I hooked up the cable from the cable TV to the radio, I could get a radio station from 100 miles away. And that radio station, I first heard Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. That was the day. It was like 91 or 92. Just accidentally happened to touch a wire to a wire and get this music to come into my radio from a place in northwest Montana that had one country AM station and another AM, I think, or maybe FM, just instrumental easy listening channel. That one little connection that day was another piece of energy to spur on this thing for me. Of all the songs and things to hear too. I was there. I was 11. See, was that 91? That might have been 92. Might have been my 12th birthday. I got the stereo for a present. What a coincidence, in air quotes. And I coincidentally had the bug to just take wires and goof around and see what happened, and I made that connection. It's all about making the connections, guys. But you got to be there doing the activity to make them. That's how you get started in your thing. And it doesn't just happen once. It just has to continue. You have to get up and do the work in some capacity. But if you find your thing, you're not going to be able to stop doing it. I've never been able to stop doing this. I've thrown boxes and boxes of this AV stuff away, thinking, all right, time to grow up, time to be an adult in this world, go work for a living. And the misery kind of set in. Even making good money, having everything I thought I wanted. But I'll be darned if this electronic stuff didn't just keep piece by piece finding its way back into my life. My goodness. I kind of got some messed up teeth here in the front. It even relates to my purpose, for crying out loud, to my thing. I used to strip wires with my teeth, and I made a little tiny hole. I broke down my teeth into this little tiny hole to strip wires. I did it so much. And now they're still goofed up. And that's been going on all my whole life. I hope your thing is that easy for you, but it feels like to me, if you pay attention to all the clues, it's got to be. It's in your DNA. And piece by piece, it'll come in your life and you'll just have this thing. I guess sometimes it's just a matter of going, hey, I got all this stuff and I'm going to do this with it. It's already here. Use what you have. And then as you can, go for the more professional stuff. And find out, I guess, where you're lacking and what you're doing and find out how you can enhance it. Education. Go watch the people that are already doing it and just copy them. That's all I've done, basically. But I guess some of the stuff I have within, you can't exactly be taught. Maybe you can. But don't just go be taught it and do it for money. I don't think you'll like it. Maybe even the thing you're supposed to do, you won't get money for it. I don't know. This stuff. There's that clock, huh? It's 10 o'clock. It's the clock that's been in my mom and dad's house for I don't know how many years that we got. It's one of those audio things I can't ignore when any noise is made, to my detriment sometimes. Anyway, lost my train of thought on that. So maybe I'll keep this part, maybe I'll edit it. Yeah, let's talk about this though. So I had this idea because I'm back at work again. I finally changed career paths a little bit. And I went into mobile maintenance from fixed maintenance. So I work on machines, and I want to be in a shop is my basic thing, and I am right now. So I love that part. It's hard work. I work harder than I have in a long time. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, but it takes my mind off everything else, and it's making some money. I appreciate that about it. People are good to work with and for. I appreciate that too. And I have the experience of failing at my last job to kind of help me have my mind in the right place. There's been no greater teacher to me than failure. I've failed big. I haven't failed financially gigantically yet. I may be having to own up for selling business assets that were 179 depreciated. I got to find out about that. That'll be a monetary at the word failure. So anyway, I'm back at this job. It's giving me energy because I'm actually physically working. It's got to be a form of exercise. It gives me energy that way. It's good for my testosterone. That stuff doesn't produce itself as much as it used to. It's going to go downhill. I take these supplements, bucked up rut testosterone boost, and it freaking finally helped. I thought I'd be like all recuperated and well from having the summer off, but I got to this place and I wasn't getting any higher. I think I heard it on a podcast. Joe Rogan takes that stuff. I don't know if it was his I got that idea from or where, or just nutrition in general. But I was like, maybe I have some low T. So I take these 3 little capsules every day, and that helped pick me up a little bit. So no doubt I've been low on that. I think too, when you get inactive because you're miserable doing what you're trying to do, you lose some of that stuff naturally. I think, did I already say there's all kinds of forces against this being rad at something? Every angle. So I found these testosterone boosts, pills, and now I actually have to work, or I'm actually working very physically, and that's brought me back up to a level that I can work with. I've sat around too and had all these ideas. I'm just like, no, I'm going to watch YouTube all day because I don't want to do anything. I don't want to waste my time doing stuff I don't want to do because I got to go back to work in a few days, and I hate that idea. I'm not going to do anything else I hate in my days off. I've been stuck in that rut. So, like, this is all integral, is what I've learned. And I got this Be Rad at Something podcast idea. My podcast gear sits kind of in about a special box to protect it all. It kills me to leave it sit in there. I do the CrossFit Reincarnation podcast, the daily reincarnation in a motorhome. It's kind of not seasonal for that at the moment. That's why you find me here in my living room. But I decided while being at work and, kind of, what do they call those tasks? Rote. Is that what they are? Where your body's just moving and your brain doesn't have to be with it. I don't know. Going through the motions. Is that a better way to call it? Just like, while screwing bolts in and out, thinking, I got to do my own podcast. So these ideas, it seems like they just don't leave you alone. I guess you can get seared to those ideas, though, and they will finally shut up, and that's bad. But I've been there, too, and I'm happy to say that you can get restarted no matter what your age. I probably spent the last 20 years goofing this all up pretty bad. I finally just decided to accept using what I have and just seeing where it goes. I'll try to be an example while I go through this stuff. So I'm not just saying stuff that don't work. That sucks too. But so I sat down today. I'm like, today's my first day off. I have this idea. I want to do this podcast, like in the worst way. I like it. I like having one on display for everybody to watch and see how well it's doing. I like the whole process. So I thought I kind of suck at sitting around and talking sometimes. I don't want that to happen. So I thought I'd write a script today. So I got my binder out and I wrote the title "Be Rad at Something" across the top. And I was kind of happy with how I looked when I wrote that. I was like, that should be like a YouTube short or something. Cool. But then that was all I could do. Writer's block. But I knew that I needed to do this. The motorhome's put away, kind of. And it's cold out there. Didn't want to go set all the podcast stuff up out there. There's kind of some furniture and whatnot in the way of where I'm at right now. But I like the backdrop for the video. I apologize. I haven't been looking to you in the camera much for you YouTubers. If any of you are going to watch this on YouTube, this is going to be both. It's going to be video and audio together each time. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to set it up and do it right here. Let's get it done. I got me some caffeine, and that coupled with just that feeling that I need to do this. Here we are. I'm grateful. And I'm happy to go on this journey. I guess my next thing I need to do is I need maybe somebody to keep me accountable here to make sure I do these. But maybe part of that is working on having a place set up where you can do these things easier. So, all right, let's just do it right now. Make myself accountable right here. I am going to make myself a little place where I can go and do podcasts. Just at the snap of a finger, I can go out, hit record, and get going. I made that promise to you. So hold me accountable and see if this background changes on the video of the place. I feel like that's the direction to go. Maybe sometimes some of that's going to be like up to your discretion. That's fine, I'm sure. It's kind of an art type thing, maybe along those lines. You do it how you got to do it. But there was times when I might have sat down and did it and I didn't have things set up, so I didn't. I guess if the thing is strong enough, you won't be able to stop. And maybe, there's no mistakes or coincidences in my understanding in this world. If God's in control and has it planned out, you're free to choose. Maybe that complicates it a bit, but maybe God letting you choose freely, he still puts the right pieces in your life that help you go the path you should. So some of those days when there's inactivity, I suppose it's not a coincidence. Maybe sometimes you need a break and a rest. And definitely whatever your thing is, don't sell your whole life off to get it. Don't keep the time away from your family. How do you say that? I think you get the idea, right? Like if you have to do the things at the expense of family time or health, you don't have to do that. You don't have to spend every waking moment doing your thing. And I think you'll burn out and you won't be able to do it no matter how strong the thing is. You'll have a waiting period penalty, you might call it. That's something that takes time to learn too. You'll inevitably hit it hard running and maybe burn out a little. Take a break. Still no coincidences. Maybe it's a lesson you'll have to learn, or maybe you'll just do it and it'll be smooth. But do it from the heart. Do it for yourself. Do it because it's what you believe in. Everybody can detect BS nowadays. It's easy to see. I've started to see some of my own, like watching my own video of myself trying to talk and whatnot. I can even see my own BS. I'm like, I didn't know I sounded like that, or didn't know come across that way. But, learn from your mistakes, keep moving forward, and have fun, man. That's what I'm trying to do. I've done everything to the best of my ability, and I've found myself sometimes just miserable. And I'm like, I don't need to feel this way. I'm doing everything I should be, I believe. At least more so in my life than I have. And there's still a little misery. So what is missing? So when I have those feelings, I pray, and I might get a little comfort from that and maybe an idea of what direction to go. That is something I cannot put down. It's even worse. Like if I get traction in some place, I might take off running in that direction and be likely to throw everything else aside. But no, no, no. I'm grateful that I fall off the rails when that happens. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I got to keep those other things in line. Those are the things that make this sustainable. So I'm thankful for all the things I've had and the ways that I've had them. They've worked for me. And I just can't sit around and accept this little miserable feeling. I've tried to like make sure I'm not just being immature and like disappointed because I haven't gotten my way. I've given some room for those thoughts, but just some of the education I've had in my life doing this stuff, side business and trying to figure it out and whatnot. Like some of that misery is because I'm not doing the thing. And if I pay attention to all those little cool little snippets of my life, Nirvana, connecting the wires, recorders, going to school to help learn how to run a music program. Um, yeah, before that, I gotta mention along those lines, I had this event happen. So Corey got this iMac computer back in 2005, and it was freaking awesome. The awesomest thing I've ever sat down to use. It already has like GarageBand and whatnot on it. So I was on there immediately making little music tracks. I've always been able to just sit down and make some kind of music to me. I love it. Little programming kind of activity, I guess, music programmer. And I made these tracks and I started titling them with the date that I started them on. And so 289, February 8th, 2009, one day before my birthday, one day before my 29th birthday, I made this track. It sounded cool to me. I loved the process. I loved making it. I loved how it sounded. And back then it was MySpace. You could post all your stuff on. I don't remember if Facebook was around yet or not, but I wasn't on it yet. I was on MySpace and I was like totally embarrassed and afraid to put that song on MySpace, but I did it anyway. And long story short, somebody from Portland heard it and they messaged me and they said, "Can I take this and remix it?" I was like, "Holy cow. Yes, please." So they did. And that spurred me on to go purchase a little bit better equipment and about a MacBook that could totally run music and play it and all that good stuff and program it. Ableton Live software I didn't know how to use. That's why I ended up having to I went to Berklee College of Music online and learned how to run that program and still can. And that track can still be found. It's on Spotify. It's 2.8.9 RMX, which stands for remix by Adapter. Go check that out. Like the very intro part of that is the core basis of what my track was, and then he danced all over the top of it and made it like into kind of a rave, kind of a Portland-esque, I suppose, industrial electronic kind of track. Go check that out. That's my work. Well, that's my collaboration. That just ties into those things like you'll get compliments on these things when you're that good at them, good enough at them, I suppose. And you'll feel good about doing it. And I see. No, I haven't used that track yet. I don't think that'll be the one for this. That one has its own event tied to it that's already all special. So yeah. And then okay, so I have this hole in my teeth from stripping wires. I have this history of music and electronic fiddling with. So that caused me to be invited to be a sound guy at a haunted house. And so, with my air quote skills, I could take all the donated, discarded, unworking, half working electronic stuff, CD Discmans and these big 100-pound stereos from the 70s and giant wooden speakers and balls of wire. I could take all that and I can make it work like for a purpose. Like we get a CD with a sound effect on it. I could put it on a Discman. I could to this, plug it in inside this room, and I can make it play in a different room, wherever it was intended for. And there'd be 2 or 3 Discmans, maybe a cassette recorder that had a looping answering machine cassette on it, where it would play the same thing over and over. I knew how to put all those things together and make them work, like in the very analog mechanical sense. And so I got to do it for this haunted house, and then I learned how to produce on the Ableton, and then I can make MP3 sounds. I went all out with those. I loved making loops that didn't sound like loops. Like the loop was so long that you couldn't detect the beginning and end. That's just how I wanted to do it. I still have that entire collection. I did that job voluntarily for no pay at all other than the joy of doing it from 2005 until 2013. And that led me into doing some other side business that started off trying to further that kind of work, like in a haunt illusion type industry. But then it went off into the wrong direction, I kind of think, to my side business of selling and renting sea containers. With the assets from that, we leveraged to buy a gym, which we now have and believe more so in. I still have the container stuff. I don't run it. That's some of the assets I sold so I could have some time off. So I don't operate that business. It's not a good enough fit, I decided. It gave me the opportunity to try the gym, like literally be a coach. That wasn't exactly a fit. But this continuing thread through all these things, no matter where I go or what I'm rambling about right now, there's always an audio video element that ties it all together. All I can hope is that this thing for you is that same thread. So I want to encourage you to try to think about what that is so you can figure out what your thing is. And then I want you to be rad at it. Okay? I'm going to continue on in my thing here and being rad at it. And I hope above all that I can help encourage you. This is the place I've been put to do this. So I get to do it and encourage you at the same time. That's beautiful, man. I'm glad that it turned out this way. So I think that about wraps it up. Yeah, I guess I already went through the writer's block thing. I tried to write it down. There's nothing better than for me to just grab a big can of caffeine and start rambling on. Now let's hope this makes it from recording to platform. Be on the lookout for me at YouTube some more. Go check out some of the videos I've already done there. I've already done a handful of things there. There's some of my very original stuff playing the guitar back in 2009. I made a video for 9 Inch Nails, same era. And those things, they're not wow me factor type stuff, but it was me stepping into that world and making a go at it, being rad in my own way. So go do the same. Don't care what people say. You got to know it in your heart that it's your thing, all right? And you got to be you and do those things no matter kind of the reaction you get around you. As long as it's positive, I'm going to throw that in there. Don't be controversial or what's the word I'm looking for? Confrontational, just for the sake of I got this purpose I'm going to fulfill. I hope that that's not how you find it. I hope you find it in a helpful and supportive way to others. That's kind of the school we're going to stick to around here. All right. That's me. I can't change it. And I find success in it. So I believe it to be correct. All right. Right on. I think let's wrap this up. I appreciate you being here. I hope you come back. But most of all, if you come and you listen and you leave, I hope some of these things stick with you so you can take it to the next level. Thank you, guys. Don't forget, you can be rad or you can be sad. So be rad, would you? Be rad is something. Thanks, guys. Chat with you later.